That night the rain was so cold. Marcus grabbed Grace and threw her outside. Two tiny babies were crying in her arms. "You gave me girls?" he screamed. He locked the gate on her face. Grace fell in the mud, holding her twins. She looked up and whispered, "God, watch my girls. Those two crying babies, one day they will own everything. And Marcus, he will lose everything. Then he will clean their floors on his knees. Subscribe and don't you dare skip this." Marcus was not always a bad man. There was a time when he smiled. There was a time when he loved Grace. But that was before the money came. Marcus grew up poor in a small village. He had nothing as a child. No shoes, no good food, no future. But he was smart. He worked hard and moved to the big city. He got a job at a small company. He saved every coin. And then he met Grace. Grace was a quiet girl with a warm heart. She worked at a small shop selling bread. She had kind eyes and a soft voice. Marcus fell in love with her fast. They got married under a mango tree with no big party. Just two people and a dream. Grace believed in Marcus. She gave him her savings. She sold her mother's gold ring to help him start a business. Marcus took that money and opened a small shop. It grew. Then it grew more. In 5 years, Marcus had a real company. He had workers. He had a car. He had a big house. But something changed inside him. The more money Marcus got, the more cold he became. He stopped eating with Grace. He stopped talking to her at night. He started coming home late. And then Grace told him the news. "Marcus, I am carrying your babies." Marcus smiled for the first time in months. "Finally, I will have a son." He said it like it was already decided. He told his friends, "My boy is coming." He told his workers, "My son will take over this company one day." He even painted a room blue for his son. Grace was happy but also scared. She knew Marcus only wanted a boy. She prayed every night, "God, please let this man be happy with whatever you give us." The months passed. Grace's belly grew big. The doctor said, "You are having twins." Marcus jumped from his chair. "Two boys. God has blessed me double." Grace kept quiet. She didn't say a word. She just held her belly and prayed. Then the day came. Grace was taken to the hospital. Marcus waited outside, pacing back and forth. His phone kept ringing, but he didn't answer. He just waited. Then the nurse came out. She was not smiling. Marcus looked at her face, and his heart dropped. "Congratulations, Mr. Marcus," she said quietly. "Your wife gave birth to twin girls." The hallway went silent. Marcus did not move. His eyes turned dark. His fists closed tight. He looked at that nurse like she had cursed his whole life. And what Marcus did next will make your blood go cold. Marcus stood in that hallway like a stone. The nurse waited for him to speak. But he said nothing. He didn't go inside to see Grace. He didn't ask to hold his babies. He just turned around and walked away. Grace lay on that hospital bed, tired and weak. She had two tiny babies in her arms. They were so small, so soft, so perfect. She kissed both their heads. "Zina," she whispered to the first one. "Zara," she whispered to the second. "You are my whole world now." But her eyes kept looking. At the door, she waited for Marcus to walk in. She waited for him to smile. She waited for him to hold his daughters. He never came. 3 days passed in that hospital. Grace called Marcus again and again. He never picked up. She cried into her pillow every night. The nurses felt sorry for her. One of them gave Grace food from her own lunch. When Grace finally came home with the babies, the house felt different. It was cold. It was quiet. Marcus was sitting in the living room with a glass in his hand. He didn't look at her. He didn't look at the babies. "Marcus, Grace said softly. "Come and see your daughters." He slammed his glass down on the table. "I told you I wanted sons," he shouted. "You gave me girls. Useless girls." Grace's legs started shaking. "They are your blood. Marcus, please." He stood up and walked close to her face. "You are a waste. Grace, you couldn't even give me one boy." Those words cut her deeper than any knife. She held her babies tighter and stepped back. From that night, Marcus changed completely. He stopped giving Grace money for food. He stopped buying milk for the babies. He locked the bedroom door and slept alone. Grace and the twins slept on the floor in the small back room. She washed their clothes by hand. She fed them with the little money she had hidden, but it was not enough. The babies cried from hunger some nights. Grace would hold them and sing softly, trying to stop her own tears. Then one evening, Marcus came home with a smile. But it was not a good smile. It was the kind of smile that hides a knife. A woman was with him. She was tall, dressed in red, with gold on her neck and rings on every finger. Her perfume filled the whole house. Marcus held her hand right in front of Grace. "This is Sandra," he said, looking Grace dead in the eye. "She is the woman who will give me a real son." Grace felt her chest crack open. She couldn't breathe. She looked at Sandra, then at Marcus. Her lips moved, but no words came out. And then Marcus said something that no wife should ever hear from her husband. "Subscribe now because Grace's pain will not last forever. Keep watching because those two little babies will make Marcus pay for every tear." Marcus looked at Grace and said, "Pack your things and get out of my house." Grace fell to her knees. "Marcus, please. Where will I go? With two babies." He didn't blink. "That is not my problem." Sandra stood behind him, smiling like she had already won. Grace looked at her babies sleeping on the floor. She had no family in this city. She had no money. She had nothing. But she had no choice. That night, Marcus threw Grace's clothes into a black bag. He didn't even give her a suitcase. He grabbed her arm and pulled her to the front gate. The rain was pouring. The street was dark. Grace was holding Zina in one arm and Zara in the other. "Marcus, they are your daughters," she cried. He looked at her one last time. "I have no daughters," he said. Then he locked the gate. Grace stood in the rain with her two babies and one black bag. She walked. She didn't know where she was going. She just walked. Her feet were bare on the wet road. The babies were crying. Her tears mixed with the rain. She walked until her legs gave up. She sat down under a broken bus stop. She held her babies close to her chest to keep them warm. "I'm sorry," she whispered to them. "I'm so sorry." That bus stop became their home for 3 days. Grace begged people on the street for milk. Some gave her coins. Most walked past her like she was invisible. She didn't eat for 2 days, so her babies could have food. Her body became weak. Her lips were dry and cracked. But every night, she looked up at the sky and made the same promise. "God, I don't know how. I don't know when. But my daughters will not live like this forever. One day, Zina and Zara will wear crowns. One day, this city will know their names." She said it every night like a prayer, and she meant every word. A kind old woman named Mama Rose found Grace on the 4th day. She gave her a small room behind her shop. It was tiny. It had one bed and a broken fan. But it had a roof. Grace thanked God and got to work. She washed clothes for people. She cleaned houses. She sold water on the roadside in the hot sun. Every single coin she made went to her girls. She didn't buy herself shoes for 2 years. Years passed. Grace worked like a machine that never stopped. Zina and Zara grew up watching their mother break her back every day. They saw her cry when she thought they were sleeping. They saw her skip meals so they could eat. And something powerful was growing inside those two little girls. Fire. 25 years have now passed. And the two babies Marcus threw away in the rain? They are not babies anymore. They are something Marcus could never imagine. And the world is about to meet them. The city had changed in 25 years. But nothing had changed more than Zina and Zara. They were not little girls anymore. They were giants. Every morning, a black car with dark windows pulled up to the tallest building in the city. Two women stepped out. Same face. Same walk. Same fire in their eyes. Zina wore a black suit sharp enough to cut glass. Zara wore a white suit that made people stop and stare. They didn't smile when they walked. They didn't need to. The security guard stood straight when they saw them coming. The front desk staff whispered, "They're here." Every worker in that building knew one rule. When the twins walk in, you stand up. Zina and Zara owned ZZ Global. It was not just a company. It was an empire. They had offices in 6 countries. They had thousands of workers. They had more money than most people could count. And they built every single brick of it themselves. No father helped them. No rich man opened doors for them. They kicked those doors down with their own hands. It started when they were 16. Grace couldn't afford to send them to a big school. So they read books from the garbage. They studied under streetlights. They learned business from watching market women sell on the road. At 18, Zina sold hand cream she made in Mama Rose's kitchen. Zara kept the books and counted every coin. That small cream business turned into a beauty company. The beauty company turned into a clothing line. The clothing line turned into real estate. The real estate turned into ZZ Global. By 25, Zina and Zara were on the cover of every magazine. People called them the Twin Queens. But behind all the power suits and big offices, they never forgot. They never forgot the rain. They never forgot the bus stop. They never forgot their mother's cracked lips and bare feet. Every morning before work, they called Grace. "Good morning, Mama. Did you sleep well?" Grace would laugh and say, "I sleep like a queen now because of you two." They bought Grace a big white house with a garden full of flowers. They gave her a driver, a cook, everything she never had. But Grace didn't care about the big house. She only cared that her girls were safe and strong. One night, Zina and Zara sat in their office on the top floor. The whole city was shining below them like tiny stars. Zara looked at her sister. "Do you ever think about him?" Zina's face went cold. "Every day," she said. "Every single day." Zara leaned forward. "Then maybe it's time." Zina looked out at the city lights. Her eyes were calm, but something dangerous was burning behind them. "Not yet," she whispered. "Let him fall a little more first." And somewhere across that same city, Marcus was already falling. He just didn't know how far the bottom was. Marcus had no idea what was coming for him. 25 years ago, he was the king of his world. Big house, big car, money in every pocket. Sandra was on his arm like a gold trophy. She gave him what he always wanted, a son. Marcus held that boy like he was holding the sun. He named him Junior. "This is my blood," Marcus told everyone. "This is my real child." He threw parties. He bought expensive gifts. He showered Sandra with everything. But Sandra was never in love with Marcus. She was in love with his wallet. And wallets don't last forever. It started slow. First, Sandra wanted a bigger house. Marcus bought it. Then she wanted a new car. Every year. Marcus bought it. Then she wanted trips to Dubai, Paris, London. Marcus paid for all of it. He didn't notice his bank account getting thinner. He was too busy showing off. He was too busy trying to keep Sandra happy. But Sandra was a fire that could never be full. The more he gave, the more she wanted. Then Marcus made his biggest mistake. He took a huge loan from the bank to start a new business. Sandra told him it would make them richer. He believed her. The business failed in 6 months. The money was gone. All of it. Marcus came home one night and found the closets empty. Sandra's clothes were gone. Her shoes were gone. Her jewelry was gone. Even the boy, Junior, was gone. There was only a note on the bed. It said, "I found someone richer." "Don't call me." Marcus read that note 7 times. His hands were shaking, his legs gave out, and he fell to the floor. The woman he threw Grace away for had thrown him away like garbage, but it didn't stop there. The bank came knocking. Marcus. He couldn't pay. They took his house. They took his car. They took his office. They took everything. In 6 months, Marcus went from a rich man to a man with nothing. He slept on a bench in the park. He ate food from the trash. He begged on the same streets where Grace once begged. The same streets. The same cold nights. The same empty stomach. But Marcus didn't have a Grace. He didn't have someone to hold him and say, "We will be okay." He was alone. Completely alone. And the city he once owned was now chewing him up and spitting him out. One night, he sat on that bench and looked up at the sky. God, what did I do to deserve this? But the sky gave him no answer, because God was busy watching over 2 queens on the other side of the city. If you are feeling this story in your chest right now, hit subscribe, because Marcus has not even reached the bottom yet, and what's waiting for him down there will leave you speechless. Months passed, and Marcus kept sinking. His clothes were torn. His shoes had holes. His face was thin and tired. He didn't look like the same man who once wore expensive suits. He looked like a ghost. Every day he walked the streets looking for work. "Please, I can do anything," he begged. But nobody wanted a broken old man. Shop owners waved him away. Security guards pushed him from building doors. One man laughed in his face. "You smell like the street, old man. Get out." Marcus swallowed his pride and kept walking. He had no choice. One afternoon, he stood outside a small restaurant. The smell of food hit his nose like a fist. His stomach screamed. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. He stood by the back door, waiting for someone to throw out leftovers. A young boy came out with a bag of old bread. Marcus grabbed it with both hands like it was gold. He sat on the ground and ate so fast he almost choked. Tears ran down his face while he chewed. This was the man who once threw food away because it was cold. Now he was eating from the garbage. That night, Marcus slept behind a church. The ground was hard, and the wind was bitter. He curled up like a child and closed his eyes. He dreamed about his old house. He dreamed about the gate he locked on Grace. He dreamed about 2 tiny babies crying in the rain. He woke up, sweating. It was just a dream, he told himself. But it wasn't just a dream. It was his past, and his past was hunting him. One morning, Marcus saw a small paper stuck to a pole. It said, "Cleaner needed. ZZ Global Tower. Ask at the back gate." He didn't know what ZZ Global was. He didn't care. He just needed money. He just needed food. He walked to the address on the paper. When he got there, he stopped and looked up. The building touched the sky. It was made of glass and steel. It was the tallest building he had ever seen. People in expensive suits walked in and out like they owned the world. Black cars with dark windows lined up at the front. Marcus felt small. He felt like an ant standing at the foot of a mountain. He went to the back gate, like the paper said. A security guard looked him up and down. "You here for the cleaning job?" "Yes, sir," Marcus said quietly. The guard handed him a mop and a uniform. You start today. Floor 1. Toilets. Marcus put on that uniform and picked up that mop. His hands were shaking. The man who once had people working for him was now cleaning toilets for coins. But Marcus didn't know something. He didn't know whose building he was standing in. He didn't know whose floors he was about to clean. And when he finds out, it will break him into pieces he can never put back together. Marcus started his new life on his knees. Every morning he woke up at 4. He put on his cleaning uniform and took the early bus. He mopped floors. He scrubbed toilets. He picked up trash that people threw on the ground without thinking. Nobody looked at him. Nobody said his name. To everyone in that building, he was invisible. Just the old man with the mop. The younger staff treated him like dirt. A boy half his age threw a coffee cup at his feet one morning. Clean that up, old man. Marcus bent down and cleaned it. He said nothing. A girl at the front desk laughed when he walked past. Something smells bad, she said to her friend. They both laughed. Marcus kept his head down and kept walking. Every day was the same. Mop, scrub, clean, get laughed at, go home. His back hurt every night. His knees were swollen. His hands were rough and cracked from the cleaning chemicals. But he couldn't quit. This job gave him just enough money to eat one meal a day. One meal. That was his whole life now. One evening after work, Marcus sat alone on a bench outside the building. He looked up at the glass tower shining in the sunset. Who owns this place? He whispered to himself. He had heard the workers whisper about the owners. They said 2 women ran everything. They said these women were young but more powerful than any man in the city. They said even the government listened when these women spoke. But nobody said their names around Marcus. He was too low on the ground for that kind of information. All he knew was that every Tuesday and Thursday, the top floor became a ghost town. The security doubled. The elevators were locked for 1 hour, and 2 women walked through the private entrance on the side of the building. He never saw their faces. He only saw 8. The black cars pull up with dark windows. He only heard the click of expensive heels on the marble floor, and he saw how every single person in that building stood up straight when those heels started clicking. Marcus was curious. But curiosity was a luxury he could not afford. He had toilets to clean. Then one Thursday morning, his supervisor called him over. Marcus, listen carefully. Marcus stood there holding his mop. There is a big meeting on the top floor today. Marcus nodded. The CEOs will be there. Very important people. Marcus nodded again. Someone spilled coffee in the boardroom. It is a mess. The supervisor pushed a bucket into Marcus's hands. Go up there. Clean it. Be fast. Be quiet. Do not look at anyone. Marcus took the bucket. He walked to the private elevator. The security guard pressed the button for the top floor. The doors closed. Marcus was going up. And he had no idea that, when those elevator doors open, his whole life was about to crash down on him like a building made of glass. The elevator moved slow. Each floor felt like a year. Marcus stood there holding his bucket and mop. His heart was beating for no reason. He looked at himself in the elevator mirror. Old face. Tired eyes. Dirty uniform. He didn't even know the man looking back at him. Where did Marcus go? The real Marcus. The one with the suits and the big smile. That man was dead. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Marcus stepped onto the top floor, and his breath left his body. He had never seen anything like this. The floor was white marble so clean he could see his own face in it. The walls were made of glass. The whole city was visible from up here. Buildings, cars, people, all so small, like ants. This is what the world looked like from the top. And Marcus was here to mop the floor. He walked slowly down the long hallway. His old shoes made a squeaking sound on the marble. He felt like he didn't belong here. Because he didn't. A woman in a gray suit walked past him fast. She stopped and looked at him. "Are you the cleaner?" Yes, ma'am." "Boardroom is at the end. Be quick. The CEOs are coming in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Marcus walked faster. He found the boardroom. The doors were tall and made of dark wood. He pushed them open. The room was huge. A long table sat in the middle with 20 leather chairs around it. Screens on the walls. Fresh flowers on the table. Everything was perfect. Except for the large brown coffee stain on the white carpet near the head of the table. Marcus got on his knees. He dipped his cloth in the bucket and started scrubbing. The stain was deep. He scrubbed harder. His old knees cracked on the hard floor. His back screamed at him, but he kept going. He couldn't lose this job. This job was all he had. While he scrubbed, he looked around the room. 2 big chairs sat at the head of the table. They were bigger than the rest. Behind them on the wall was a giant painting. Marcus looked up at it. It was a painting of a woman. She was older but beautiful. She had kind eyes and a soft smile. Something about her face made his hands stop moving. He knew that face. He knew those eyes. His stomach turned. His mouth went dry. "No," he whispered. "It can't be." He stood up slowly and walked closer to the painting. His legs were shaking. His eyes went wide. Under the painting, written in gold letters, were 3 words. "Our beloved mother." Marcus felt the room spin. His bucket fell from his hand. Dirty water spread across the white marble floor. And right at that moment, he heard something behind him. The click of 2 pairs of expensive heels. The boardroom doors swung open, and 2 identical voices said the same thing at the same time. "Who made this mess on our floor? Why? However. Floor. Why? Floor. Why? Why?" Marcus turned around, and what he saw standing in that doorway turned his blood to ice. 2 women stood in the doorway. Same height, same face. Same dark eyes burning like fire. One in a black suit. One in a white suit. Marcus grabbed the table to stop himself from falling. Those eyes. He knew those eyes. Those were Grace's eyes. The same eyes that cried in the rain 25 years ago. Zina. Zina. Zina stepped forward. She looked at the dirty water on the floor. Then she looked at Marcus. "Who made this mess?" she said. Marcus couldn't speak. His lips were shaking. Zara stepped forward next to her sister. "You look familiar," Zara said quietly. I am the cleaner," Marcus whispered. "I am sorry. I will clean it." He dropped to his knees and reached for the cloth. "What is your name? What is your name? What is your name? What is your name? What is your name?" Zina asked. The room went silent. "Marcus," he said. The air changed. Zina's jaw went tight. Zara's eyes went wide, then calm again. They looked at each other. One look. That look carried 25 years of rain and hunger and fire. They sat at the head of the table like 2 judges. Marcus was on his knees in the dirty water. Then it hit him. The painting on the wall. Thanks to Brand's exant, Grace's face. Our beloved mother. These 2 queens were his daughters. The same babies he called useless. The same babies he threw into the rain. They owned this building. They owned this city. And he was placed, kneeling in their dirty water holding a rag. His face crumbled. "Zina. Zara," he whispered. He reached his shaking hand toward them. "My daughters. Please." Zina didn't take his hand. She crossed her arms. "Daughters?" she said, cold as ice. You told our mother you had no daughters. Zara leaned forward. You locked a gate on 2 babies in the rain. You chose Sandra over our mother. You let us starve. Each word hit Marcus like a hammer. He dropped his head to the floor, his tears mixed with the dirty water. Please, he cried. I made a mistake. I was a fool. Zina stood up. Her shadow fell over him like a tower. She looked down at the man who gave her life, but never gave her love. And what she said next made every person outside that boardroom door hold their breath. Zina looked down at Marcus and let the silence crush him. Then she spoke. 25 years ago, you threw a woman and 2 babies into the rain. You locked the gate. You chose a woman who only loved your money. And you told our mother to go die on the streets. Marcus sobbed. On the floor. I know. I know what I did. Please forgive me. Zina shook her head slowly. You don't get to cry now, Marcus. Our mother cried for years. Nobody wiped her tears. She slept on a bus stop for 3 days with 2 newborn babies. She didn't eat so we could eat. She washed strangers' clothes so we could go to school. She broke her body so we could stand here today. Zara stood up now. Her voice was calm but sharp like a blade. You want forgiveness? You don't even deserve to say our names. But we are not like you, Marcus. We are our mother's daughters, not yours. Zara picked up the phone on the table and made one call. Send her up. 2 minutes later, the boardroom doors opened. Grace walked in. She was wearing a beautiful white dress. Her hair was silver. Her face was peaceful. She looked like a queen who had already won her war. Marcus saw her and broke completely. He crawled toward her on his hands and knees. Grace! Grace, please! I am sorry. Please forgive me. Grace stopped walking. She looked down at the man on the floor. This was the same man who called her a waste. The same man who threw her into the mud. The same man who locked the gate on her face. Now he was crawling to her like a child. Grace took a deep breath. Marcus, I forgave you a long time ago. Not for you. For me. I forgave you so the hate would not eat me alive. But forgiveness does not mean I will let you back in. She looked at her daughters and smiled. You threw away diamonds, Marcus, and God picked them up. Zina pressed a button on the table. Security, please come to the boardroom. 2 guards walked in. Zina looked at Marcus one last time. You will not be fired. You can keep your cleaning job. Every day you will mop these floors, and every day you will remember what you threw away. The guards lifted Marcus to his feet. His legs could barely hold him. He looked at Zina, then Zara, then Grace. 3 women he once threw away like trash. Now they were standing above him like towers of gold. He was walked out of the boardroom. The doors closed behind him. And Marcus finally understood the truth. The rain that fell on Grace that night did not destroy her. It watered her. And from that rain, 2 queens grew. The moral is simple. Never throw away the people who love you for the people who use you. Because one day, the ones you threw away will rise. And you will wish you held on. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to this channel right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, God sees every tear, every single one.